Hi, I'm Lea Louise from Inspired Quilting by Lea Louise, and I'm so glad that you're here today. Do you remember this quilt from last week? After making it, I had some extra fabric left over, and I wanted to make a companion quilt to go with this. So what I did is created an additional pattern. So I want to show that to you now. This is the pattern that we're going to be making as a companion quilt. So the baby quilt I just showed you, and then this will be the mama's lap quilt, and it just looks beautiful. I love the way these small background squares just really stand out and bring out the white backgrounds of the other fabrics. So everything looks nice and bright. It's a quick and easy pattern. I'll say quick and easy with a bit of an exception. There is a lot of cutting involved. There's a lot of pieces, but we're going to use some strip piecing that will facilitate that and make it a bit easier. And there's nothing complicated about this. It's just going to take some time and effort to put these blocks together, but you will love the finished results. So let me go ahead and get the pieces out and show you how we begin making this quilt so you can get your own started. Do you recognize this fabric? We made a baby quilt last week out of this same hydrangea fabric, as well as some other batiks that I added into that particular fabric collection. But I love the watercolor look of the fabric, and the batiks worked really well with it. So we made the baby quilt last week, and it was a very simple quilt. I'll put a link here for that video so you can get that pattern as well. And this one is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lap size quilt in a different pattern. So baby gets a quilt. We're going to make a lap size quilt for mom. So these are a pair of companion quilts that will go together. Now the first step, as you can see, is to sew 3 blocks together. Background goes in the middle, and 2 charms on either side of the prints that you're using. Now, I do want to say there are a couple options on the size for this, but this quilt is going to take anywhere from 5 to 6 charm squares, or if you do like I do and use fat quarters, then you can cut it that way. So all that information will be in the pattern, so you can choose how to best cut and utilize your fabric. Now, once these are sewn, remember we've got 5, 10, 15 inches of fabric, but we've taken out an inch with 4/4 inch seams. So this now measures 14 inches. And I'm going to cut it in half in both directions. So we know this measures 5 inches on the height. So we're going to go to 2.5 inches. And we will cut right across the center. Get that down here. Baby moved on me. There we go. I'm going to stay put. There we go. Okay, so we're going to cut this at 2.5 inches across. And then we want to cut this at 7 inches. Now, don't worry about getting exactly in the center. What's more important is that this measures 7 inches, because this seam here is not going to have to match up to anything. So let's see, I've got my 5, 6, 7 is going to be right on that line there. So we're going to measure at 7 inches. And this is going to give us 4 blocks, or in the pattern I call them long blocks because they're not a standard size that we normally use. And we're going to cut all these up, and once we get a stack of them together, we're going to start putting our pieces together. I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a moment. But one other thing I wanted to show you is if you have jelly rolls, you can also put it together that way. Use a 2.5 inch strip of background in the middle, and then just cut your 5 inch jelly rolls for either side. So these were actually some extra pieces that I had when I cut my fat quarters into charms. You'll get a 3 inch strip on the end, And I trimmed those down to 2.5 inches and just made these out of that. So you can see I utilized a lot of my fabric, my stash fabric. Again, this is my fat quarter stash quilting that I rave about, that is so effective for me and utilizes so much fabric. Gets me to use more than I might otherwise. And it works great. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these cut. We're going to put them into these, cut them into these long blocks. And I'm going to show you how to put this quilt together. Wait till you see the pattern. This goes together so quickly. All we've had to do was sew charms together, cut them into some rectangles. Now we're going to sew the quilt together, and you'll be surprised how fast this will be finished. With all the 7-inch long strips, the long narrow strips cut, it's time to sew them together. And you're going to combine 3 for each of these blocks. These are the blocks that we'll use for the final assembly of putting the quilt together. It's much easier to use or to sew together pieces like this than all these individual strips, because it gets messy. Now let me lay this out the way it's going to look. Notice how we alternate the blocks as they're sewn. So, and we're going to do it in any number of ways. Notice this is all exactly the same, but we're going to divide them up and alternate the pattern so that we have a small block and a long block, small, long, and that's going to continue across, and then the same working downward. So this single block in this layout is the only thing that you have to create, and then we're going to divide it up throughout the quilt. So get your 3 pieces and mix it up with all the different patterns and sew them alternating just like this. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to piece this together using the chain stitching method. So let me get that to demonstrate for you. So the way we're going to start this is by pairing up your blocks, and actually we'll start this way, and they're going to go together just like this, so that the white block is always sewn to a print block, and then that's going to give you your, I'll turn these around here, going to give you your pattern, your staggering woven pattern. And so it's going to look a bit like a weave, and I think that's kind of the general name for this. It has a lot of different names, but generally it includes the word woven or weave within it. So at this point, we're just going to pair up our blocks. We don't want to call that a 9 patch, but essentially that's what it's broken down into. And we're going to put 2 together, right sides together like this, making sure that we pair these up correctly. We want the white to go to a print all the way through. And then we come down to the next block and we do the same thing. And we're going to do this all the way to the end of the quilt. Now, because this quilt is going to have 33 of these individual rows, each of these have 3, so that means I'm going to create 11 of these sets in my first row, 11 pairs. And then I will open this up and I will get another one, and I'll put that one right here. And I'll just keep doing that throughout to get the whole thing pieced. So once then that piecing is finished, all the rows are together, I'll give it a good pressing, and then I'll come back and do the final seams, and this is going to be finished. So it really does go together quickly. It's a bit of time to get everything cut up ahead and get all your strips together, but it really is worth that effort. That's where the time goes in. Once that's complete, your blocks go together really fast, and then the quilt is a real quick finish. So I can't wait to show you how this is going to look. Hold on just a little bit more, and we'll be there. Here are the rows pieced together. We did the chain stitching to get all these connected, and I have this folded over just so you can see some of these. And I want to show you what this is going to look like when it's finished. look at the way we get this great pattern. The white blocks divides it up. It gives it that nice woven look, and all the prints just look really wonderful together. The white helps to bring out the backgrounds in a lot of these, so they stand out on their own, and it's not just a conglomerate of a lot of colors, but each of these prints has an opportunity to really be visible within this quilt, and I love how that works. So there'll be one more video to this when I show you both quilts completed, but I did want to get this one in so you could see how it's coming, how it goes together, and if you want to get started on your own, you know all the secrets to get it together. Piecing it this way makes it so much quicker, a lot easier to manage, and it's worked out wonderfully, and the seams all match up really well. And that's kind of the secret. As long as you can get the pattern and the blocks to work well, that you can line them up at these points, that's fantastic. The best part is these extra seams don't have to match up. That's what makes this part very simple in pre-sewing these blocks. And then we just need to worry about these along the main seam line. So this is it. I can't wait till the next video. I'm going to show you both quilts all finished. But I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you're enjoying this. It's been such a fun quilt to work on.